7 levels. Not best to worst, just the different ways drivers survive, adapt, and sometimes bend Formula One to their will. Level 1. The passenger. This is the driver whose entire job is to get through the weekend. Not dominate it, not shape it, just survive it. The passenger isn't driving the race so much as trying not to become the reason the Monday debrief turns awkward. You'll usually see this style in brutal machinery or brutal circumstances. The car's slow, the margin is tiny, and every lap is about damage control. When things get chaotic, they don't try anything clever. They stay out of trouble, follow instructions, and bring the car home. That's the job. The trade-off is obvious. You don't create moments. If points come, it's because half the field removed themselves first. If they don't, no one's shocked. This style keeps engineers calm and fans completely indifferent. Every grid has had examples of this. Nikita Mazepin's 2021 season gets mentioned a lot. Not as an insult, but because it shows what passenger mode actually looks like. Huge gap. No room to experiment. A weekend focused more on finishing than fighting. That's not failure. That's survival in the hardest environment in motorsport. Level 2. The survivor. Survivors learn something early. Formula One. Careers don't usually end because you're slow. They end because you become a problem. This style is about staying employable in a sport that replaces people faster than parts. Survivors manage tyres, manage risk, manage expectations. They know when to push and when to back out. They'll give the team exactly what it asked for, not what Twitter wants. When other drivers are spinning, colliding, or melting down on the radio, survivors are quietly picking up positions and keeping the car intact. That's the job. The trade-off is visibility. You don't get hype, you don't get highlight reels, but you do get longevity. You're still around when faster, messier drivers are suddenly exploring other options. A really clean example is Nico Hülkenberg. Not because he's passive, but because his career has been built on being reliable, prepared, and difficult to justify dropping. He steps in, does what the team needs, avoids unnecessary drama, and rarely embarrasses anyone. That doesn't make you a title contender, it makes you useful. And in F1, usefulness keeps doors open. This style doesn't win championships, but it buys you time. Level 3. The Metronome. These are the drivers engineers absolutely love and fans forget about by Tuesday. Same braking point, same line, same lap time. Over and over, they turn races into predictable output. Give them a fast car and they'll extract exactly what it's capable of. Not more, not less. That's both the strength and the limitation. When the plan works, they look rock solid. When the race gets weird, they can look like they're waiting for permission to improvise. That's the job. The trade-off is that you rarely look heroic. You look professional. And in a sport obsessed with highlights, professionalism doesn't trend. Carlos Sainz often gets tagged with this style, not because he lacks aggression, but because control is his default setting. Clean execution, clean feedback, clean Sundays. Teams trust drivers like this with real responsibility, even if fans don't always know what to do with them emotionally. Level 4. The Opportunist. Opportunists don't force races to bend. They wait for the race to crack open, then step straight through the gap. These drivers are incredible at reading what a Grand Prix is becoming, not what it was supposed to be. Safety car, weather shift, strategy split. Opportunists are already leaning into it, while others are still arguing on the radio. They don't dominate from lights to flag. They steal results when conditions turn messy. That's the job. The trade-off is rhythm. You might look invisible one week and brilliant the next, depending entirely on how weird the race gets. Jenson Button's 2011 Canadian Grand Prix is the textbook example. He didn't win because he was fastest all day. He won because he kept his head while the race completely lost it. That's opportunist driving at its best. Patience, timing, and ruthless calm when everyone else is melting. Level 5. The Knife Fighter. Knife fighters race people, not lap times, late breaks, hard defense, wheel-to-wheel pressure. Everything feels personal when you're racing one of these drivers. They turn overtakes into negotiations, and negotiations into arguments. Even when they're not faster, they're exhausting to race. You can't relax behind them, and you can't trust them to back out. That's the job. The trade-off is consequences, penalties, criticism, and eventually a steward's room with your name on the screen a little too often. Kevin Magnussen is a clean modern example of this style when it goes too far. His 2024 race ban didn't come out of nowhere. It was the logical endpoint of living on the edge, week after week. Knife fighters create highlights and controversy in equal measure. You live by elbows out racing and sometimes the rulebook bites back. Level 6, the car whisperer. Car whisperers don't need the car to be perfect. They adapt themselves instead. Different lines, different braking, different rotation, sometimes within the same stint. They can drive around understeer, oversteer, tyre drop-off, and general nonsense that shouldn't work. Engineers say, "The car doesn't like that," and the driver replies by doing it anyway. That's the job. The trade-off is expectation. Once people see you drag results out of bad machinery, they expect it every single time. Fernando Alonso's 2012 Valencia win gets mentioned for a reason. Starting outside the top 10 and still winning wasn't magic. It was adaptability and racecraft. Same with Lewis Hamilton, managing tyres at the 2020 Turkish Grand Prix when conditions made no sense. That's not luck. That's understanding what the car can do when the plan is useless. Level 7, the system breaker. This is the rare one. The driver who doesn't just beat expectations, they break them completely. The data says one thing, the stopwatch says another, and suddenly the team has to rethink what's even possible. System breakers don't just win races, they force philosophy shifts, development panic, and long-term fear from everyone else. Teams stop asking, "Can we beat them this weekend?" and start asking, "What has to change for anyone to beat them at all?" That's the job. The trade-off is pressure that never turns off. Max Verstappen sits here right now, and it doesn't require exaggeration to explain why. Multiple championships, record-breaking streaks, performances that make teammates look like they're driving a different category. That's not just dominance, that's resetting the standard. System breakers don't just exist in Formula One, they force Formula One to respond. Driver styles aren't fixed. They shift with the car, the rules, the pressure, and the moment. A metronome can become an opportunist in the rain. A survivor can turn knife fighter when their seat's on fire. A car whisperer can look helpless when the car truly gives up. That's why this sport never settles. Not because drivers change, but because context does. So who on today's grid is the clearest system breaker? And which driver is quietly the best car whisperer, even if the results don't show it yet? And if you enjoyed this breakdown and want more, Formula One explained the easy way, hit subscribe. We'll keep making the fastest sport on earth simple, clear, and fun.